Hey y'all, another real talk here, and you know, there may be a lot of people who watch my videos and say, "Man, what the heck does this guy have against Freemasons?" Well, once again, it was revealed to me that they are the modern day Pharisees, and there's that. Secondly, I was approached, okay? And in Texas, it's supposed to be one, ask one, right? They're not supposed to advertise. They're not supposed to recruit. I was approached in a bar one night by an older guy, claimed to have the same name as me, first name, and he goes on to tell me that he's a Mason of an organization called the Government of 12. I spoke once before about having gone to an evangelical Christian church and had been anointed in the church. I wasn't a member of the church. I did write down my cell phone number one time and as a visitor, and I don't know, it may have been tracked through my phone. Nevertheless, the individual started telling me about Freemasonry and some little aspects of things. He had told me that Hitler had been a Mason and that he had jumped the gun, which also come to find out that some Masons were involved in the Holocaust as far as on both sides of the fence. It seemed like he used it as a good way to eliminate some competition, because my understanding, each lodge runs itself, so to speak, but they still are chartered through England, and whoever charters England is a whole other story. But once again, in the constitutions of Freemasonry, it says that they are Catholic. So anywho, I had given that guy my phone number, and I never heard back from him. He did make mention to me that he was part of, I think I'd said before, the Government of 12 body of Freemasonry, and I made mention of that evangelical church because several years later I kind of put the puzzle pieces together that he was from the Masonic body from within that church, because Pastor John Hagee's Cornerstone Church there in San Antonio has a inner government of 12. And then I later found out that he himself is a Freemason. I was told by some Masons that he had been a member of the same lodge that I had petitioned, but he had dropped out at one point in time. But he had already become an initiated. He was already a Mason. So anyways, in between that time of me figuring that stuff out, I had petitioned a lodge. Person whom I had known throughout my life, after I'd come out of the military, and after I'd been approached in the bar, he happened to come home on Christmas leave, and he happened to be a newly initiated Mason. I believe he had already received his master's, And I asked him, well, how do I become one? Because I had been going through a lot of stuff since I had been approached by that individual. My whole life had flipped upside down. Uh, Somebody had tried to recruit me to go to Mexico to supposedly work on a ranch and keep cartel off the ranch. I could smell a setup. Um, and that caused me to flee the state of Texas at that point in time. I went up to Georgia, got arrested on a DWI charge, which was uh, bogus. They had me blow into a dirty machine, and yeah, it cost me a lot of money. Um, and then I also had a suicide attempt not too long after that, because, like I said, my life had been flipped upside down on me. Even my own family didn't believe me, because they had went and spoke to the individuals who had approached me about what they approached me about. And my mom and stepdad came home like nothing was wrong. Oh, I thought you would have loved to have done something like that, seeing your military background. Hello, were you hypnotized by that dude next door? Yeah, no thanks. So anyways, I contacted my cousin, who happened to be a master mason, and that was before the suicide attempt. And he kind of played with my heartstrings, let's just put it that way. And he was supposed to come visit me when I was up in Georgia after I'd fled Texas, and he didn't. So anyways, I ended up petitioning a lodge, because that's what that person who at one point in time I had called a friend, he had told me, yeah, you go get a petition from a lodge. So that's what I did. I found where the local lodge was to the area that I was living at the time, and I went and picked up a petition. And I talked with a couple of the guys there. They seemed kind of strange. One guy started air humping his chair. I've heard of certain things taking place, but then again, I'm not initiated, so I can't say for sure. I haven't seen any illustrations of any homosexual activities. But so, anyways, I petitioned that lodge, and it required 3 Masons to give me their lodge information and whatnot. Basically saying that they vouched for me. One of which I had gotten from somebody who lived across the street from my mom and stepdad, who had also known my grandfather, was a Mason, either 32nd or 33rd degree. But even then, there's degrees higher than that. It's not publicly known. There's 360 degrees to Masonry. The other person who I'd gotten was a friend of my mother's, who supposedly had received a ring that belonged to my grandfather, but I don't know if that ever actually happened. He claimed it didn't. And thirdly was my cousin that I had spoken about. And I went and turned in the petition, and they said, okay, cool, come here for this dinner, and it's a family dinner type deal, and then you're going to meet more people from the lodge, and then we're going to vote on you. But you know, investigation has to take place. Okay. So back then I drank, and on Veterans Day of, what was that, 2010, I got pulled over on my way back to the bar after only had consumed 2 alcoholic beverages, and it took over a year to clear my name, and I spent 6 weeks in county jail, and had also gotten jumped twice, and was thrown in solitary confinement because I defended myself. And yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience, but there were some hidden lessons. I met a guy who his name was Rufus, and he Islamic and Muslim guy, real friendly person. I met a few other Muslims in there. They were real friendly. I even asked for a copy of the Quran while I was in jail, and they refused it to me. You know, I could technically go back and sue them for that, just like I could also sue them for the $43 that was in my possession at the time of my arrest that was never returned to me. And then also could also go back and sue them for the days of incarceration that I was not given reparations on, since all charges were dropped at the time of going to court. And I spent over 6.5 weeks and lost a vehicle because of it, and several other things that happened. A roommate who is now a Freemason, he robbed me blind, and then tried to claim that the Democrats had come into the house and stolen things. I was like, oh, isn't that amazing? They didn't steal any of your game systems. They didn't steal your big screen TV or your other TV. But they came into my room and looted my room, stole $100 worth of cigars that I just put in my humidor, which he had a friend of his dad's who liked to smoke expensive cigars, so I'm sure, you know, he gave him or traded him something for him. And then not only that, but then I come to find out that the dude was even wearing my underwear because he is too freaking lazy to do laundry. Stole my deer rifle, you know, went and lied to my parents. That was the whole reason why I ended up doing as much time in jail as I did, because they believed his lies and refused to bail me out of jail until they tried giving me a 6 months in jail court. But anyways, so when I got out of jail, I contacted my point of contact there and for the lodge and said, hey, you know, I got arrested on DWIs, where I've been for the last 6 weeks, and they kind of acted like they knew all about it. So I felt attacked, and I ended up contacting them again and going. They were supposed to go forward with the proceedings, and they were supposed to do an investigation. And the day of the investigation, the guy never showed up, or the 2 guys, because there's supposed to be 2 of them, but if you also understand about the two ruffians. As far as the way that the interview goes, it's, you know, it's a friendly interrogation and to see your home environment. So anyways, no one ever showed up. However, I did wake up one morning after having a dream like I was being examined, and but you know, like my body was being measured and some weird things. And then when I woke up that morning, or the next morning, my shirt was off. It's the only time in my life that's ever happened. So anywho, I got back in touch with the point of contact a few months later, you know, because I felt abandoned, you know. You know, I felt, you know, as if, you know, if the guy was running late or something, he would have called me. He had my phone number because we had already talked on the phone. No one ever showed up for at the time and place of where I was living. So, like I said, I went back to the lodge a few months later and I asked to speak to the point of contact, who was the secretary of the lodge. His name was Dennis Lafferty, and I'm telling him, hey man, look, all this stuff is happening ever since I turned in this petition, man, and I don't understand what's going on. And you know, he had pulled me outside of the lodge while we had that conversation. And he said, yeah, I know exactly everything that you're going through, and, you know, we've already read your petition out twice. You don't want them to read it a third time. You won't like what's going to happen if they do that. And he goes, I don't even like being a member anymore myself. He goes, but, you know, I'm kind of here. And then he goes, you won't like what takes place in here anyways. And it's all esoteric stuff. And at that point in time, I really didn't know what all that was. And my last words to him was, I want to learn. You know, and since then, I have learned a lot. And then I've run into a few other Masons since then, and one of them had told me, well, depending on the way things, if they were truly done, if they had truly read your petition, blah, 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 and taken a vote on you, then you can't join another lodge. And I was like, they never even did the investigation. They're supposed to do the investigation before they even vote on you. I mean, how can they have any, well, anyways, we won't go with that train of thought at this moment. The thought that was about to interrupt me. So anyways, I went into a very dark, depressive state because I had reapplied for Social Security. I was on Social Security disability at one time. I've got a lot of different disabilities. I've mentioned a few of my physical elements in previous videos. However, I was denied by Social Security as their own judges. You don't even get to see a real, you know, official. It's through their system, so it's kind of rigged. And one of the first things the judge had told me before the proceedings yet even began was I had bad luck. So anyways, I was denied, but you know what? Well, it put me in a dark place, but through the power of prayer and the belief in the Creator, I was pulled out of that. And partially by watching some of Dr. Robert Gilbert's videos about the spiritual beings that are around us, and facts of Rosicrucianism. not realizing at the time that there are different sects of Rosicrucians, and immediately I joined and I mentioned before, the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross. And then come to find out that it's all tied to the Freemasons, as far as the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross is. And they don't even use the original Rose Cross. You know? Same ones that the Templars used and all that. So I returned back to that lodge to see what my options were. For some reason I felt compelled to go over there, for whatever reason. I guess it's the beings around us. And Dennis had already died. He died in some sudden, tragic, it was something sudden. I don't know what it was, but anyways, when I had made mention of him, they kind of like put off the vibe as if it was my fault for something. But once again, he said he didn't even like being a member anymore. So he spoke his own reality on that one. So anywho, they said, well, we don't know where your petition is, if we still have it, blah, blah, blah. We'll take a look. But why don't you go ahead and give us your name and email address and phone number. So I did. And for whatever reason, I went in. I went there with, with the feeling of the fire of God in me. Of telling them, look, I'm done with y'all. I want out. I want to withdraw my petition. But I don't know. Jedi mind tricks, I guess, from what I understand that they can do. So anyways, once again, King Solomon could control people with a ring, and they screwed him over. So they're one person could control all, and then now some can control the vast majority, if you allow them to. There's ways of fighting it. So anyways, I was told, yeah, we're going to look for your petition and see what the status is and whatnot. And then that was what the secretary had told me. I had originally talked to the chaplain when I first arrived on the property, because he was the first one there. And I shared with him some of the information that I shared with you, as far as, having woken up with my shirt off, feeling like my body was being measured while I was in my sleep, a few other things, and the mention about the Pastor Hagee from Cornerstone Church and whatnot. But anyways, went after the secretary kind of dismissed me, and I went back into the main meeting area. And the chaplain was like, hey, that was the master that just walked by. Did you get to meet him? I said, no, here, come meet him. So I went in there to meet him, and him and the secretary were huddled up together. And then the chaplain goes over to introduce me and whatnot, and I start telling him what I can at that time. And he's like, oh yeah, we're going to look for your petition, and if you can't, if we're going to contact you either way, but if if anything, don't worry, you can always come back and try again. Reincarnation. I have a feeling that they did read that petition a third time, because some things really started irking me. That night, after I'd left that lodge that night, I felt a disturbance in the force. Let's put it that way. You may not know what I'm talking about, but the force is mentioned in the book Morals and Dogma. So I immediately went and had my phone number changed, and that feeling went away. And then I started attending the AMORC meetings and got real into it. The teachings are great as far as, what I was introduced to in the beginning, but I was lied to. In the beginning, introductory videos from the Grand Master, they say, we don't expect you to ever take any oath. But then they kind of sneak it in there to become a neophyte. You have to write down a little oath. But then, I come to find out that they're tied with the Freemasons, and they all worship Lucifer, and I don't. So, contract null and void. And then started finding out a few other tidbits of information that conflicted with what they had originally said. So, they lie to get people in. Contract null and void. Contract null and void. Lies, you can't build a relationship off of lies. They only become even more lies and more lies and more lies. So, not only that, but they're all, teachings from the East. Ancient teachings from the East that come from other mystery schools. You think those mystery schools taught you everything? Mm-mm. No, they did not. Same reason why Rabbi Finkelstein called, Goyim. So, that's what they are. I didn't become an actual initiate. I wasn't entered into the temple. So, nor do I ever expect to be. Because once again, you can't build a relationship on lies, and I can't forgive. I can forgive, but don't expect me to come back. It's not going to happen. I'm going to ascend. That has already been confirmed. So, I'm leaving out some other information. I'll just go ahead and let you know I'm leaving out some other secretive information that has ties to some other things that everybody else is better off with it being unsaid. However, the other truth has come out, and that's more than enough. More than enough truth for people to repent, return to the Creator, and let's fulfill the real job at hand. Sorry, Lucifer, you can't fight your way back into heaven. were sent upon the earth, cast out of heaven up onto this earth to learn a lesson. And obviously you have yet to learn that lesson, but only to build a legion against God. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. So mote it be, amen. So yeah, folks, that's real talk. That's what's going on. You know, two sides to the force. And obviously I felt the evil side from them. I'm on the good side of the force. My religion is down at the VA as a Jedi. I consider myself a Gnostic Jedi. So, that's the situation at hand. But I still put on a positive attitude and a smile on my face every day, knowing that my heaven awaits. And it does. You know, all you gotta do is just repent. Well, repent and start believing and praying. You know. Oh, by the way, if people want to know, that's double E turned upside down is 33. I also have 33 tattooed there, you know, having 33 within. I've got some more encryption type tattoos that I didn't even realize until after they were tattooed on me. You know, God works in mysterious ways. I was originally going to have open book tattooed on my fingers. Now it says, game over, the end. So, that being said, peace be upon you all. I love you all, and namaste.